why is smoking so cool? And how can I become cool without it? As a kid, I always used to think smoking was cool. And in fact, I still do. And I think most people do. And I think smoking actually is cool. Whether it's cigarettes, joints, or especially cigars, it just looks cool. If we look at characters like Thomas Shelby or James Bond, obviously not the new latest woke James Bond, but the real James Bond, both these characters are made even extra cool, even cooler, by making them smoke cigarettes one after another. And I dove into it, and it seems that smoking has forever been this symbol of rebelliousness, mystery, and this carefree attitude. And a good symbol of this is actually very interesting. Edward Bernays, this is a fucking genius. I read a book from him. It's called Propaganda. This man is literally the founding father of propaganda. And later, when he used the same tactics in business, he called it public relations, which we now know as PR. This man literally helped Lucky Strike double the revenue for cigarette sales. Because back in the days, we're talking early 1900s, 1920s, women were not allowed to smoke. It was regularly just men who smoked cigarettes, and women who smoked were seen as whores, basically. What this Edward Bernays has done is insane. With the upcoming feminist movement, he was thinking, brainstorming with Lucky Strike, how can we get women to smoke cigarettes? And what the man did, he was the first, as far as I know, man to use of what we would call nowadays influencer marketing, because there was some kind of feminist march in the late 1920s, 1929, March 31 to be exact, the Eastern Parade. And Edward Bernays, this psychologist, he made some artists, singers, female singers and actresses, he told them to go through this parade, marching, and very obviously smoke cigarettes all the time. And then he would call this the torch of freedom for women. So later the papers picked it up and they wrote a story about how women smoking cigarettes was a symbol of feminism. And literally this was the way Edward Bernays got all American women to smoke cigarettes and double cigarette sales for Lucky Strike, the big cigarette company back then. And it's even worse, like there were even advertisements at the time for women. They said, choose a cigarette over a sweet and you will lose weight. And then you see a picture of a very skinny or a very fat girl and then a skinny girl, and this is you in 5 years of smoking. Or Camel used to advertise their cigarettes to prime your throat and prime your voice before a speech. Insane. Well, this Edward Bernays, he made it even worse, because later he was one of the biggest advisors of the Nazis, of Nazi Germany, and he was actually the man who helped the Nazis sell their ideology to the Germans, to their own country. Well, that's another thing. Smoking looks cool, and obviously, like I said, the tobacco industry played a big role in this, right? In the movie industry, all the cool characters were smoking, and this obviously had a huge impact on cigarette sales. Another thing that's interesting, and then I'll get back to the topic, is that they also do it to let the character in the movie resonate more with the person who's actually watching. So if they have a movie they want to sell to people who actually smoke, then they make the character smoke as well, so the watcher can resonate more with the character in the movie. And obviously there's way more things behind it. Hollywood is a dirty place, man. You are the product. If something is free, you are the product. How to actually become cool without smoking weed or cigarettes. because I used to smoke weed every day and cigarettes for close to 10 years. Well, it was no bueno. I got completely, well, it's a long story. I was addicted to weed and it completely ruined my life, so I chose to quit it. But I still want to be cool, right? We all want to be cool. If you're anything like me as a kid, you were always attracted by what you can't have, what you cannot do. When I was a kid, I always was interested in smoking, using drugs, drinking alcohol, driving scooters or cars with no license. We all want what we can't have, and we want to be admired. We want to feel special. We want to feel important. We want to feel mysterious, and people are curious about us. And for some people, smoking may seem the impression of one of these traits, but in fact, you're just fucking up your lungs, right? I wouldn't say smoking is the solution to make yourself look cool. You can actually become cool by making yourself careless, or at least carefree, mysterious, rebellious. And that's not to look this way, but to actually become it. What I'm doing right now, I want to become rich, ripped, smart, dangerous. So I focus on improving myself, on reading this book, for example, from Bernays. It just interests me, and then you learn stuff like I just told you. I don't know about you, I think this is really interesting, how masses... Bernays, his specialty, he was a specialist in the psychology of the masses, how groups move. It's a very, very, very interesting book. I would highly recommend you to read it. It's almost 100 years old. It was written in 1936, I think. Very good book. I would highly recommend you to read it. To actually become cool, mysterious, dangerous, rich, ripped, is by simply starting to read, working out every single day, making money, and learning how to fight. For now, it's just fighting for me, kickboxing and regular boxing. Eventually, I would love to also get into arms. What's it called? Shooting. Like learn how to handle a weapon. I think as a man, this is just cool. And if you can do this, you will feel even more like James Bond or Thomas Shelby. And well, that's all I have to say today. Not more than that. Workout, reading, fighting, and making money. And that's how I will actually become cool. And I don't have to smoke because I will already be cool. So that's what I'll be focusing on. If you like me yapping about my thoughts and sharing my lessons with you, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future videos. If you don't like me yapping, let me know. Don't subscribe. And I don't see you in tomorrow's next video. Cheers.